Hey guys, Ace here, and welcome to another edition of Game Collection Showcase. Totally not shot on the same day as the last one. I don't know why you would ever ask that. Today we'll be looking at the next one in the, I think it's the 5th generation of consoles. The ever-classic Nintendo 64. Complete with missing cover over the expansion pack slot here. See, I've actually kind of liked this look because it kind of reminds me of those hot rods where you have the huge blower and fan belt that's like lifting above the hood. It's like, you know, this thing makes it so powerful you have to take it off so you can get that extra airflow over it. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Nintendo 64 seems to be one of those consoles where a lot of people either really hate it or really love it. And personally, I love it. I had the choice when I was young. I had the choice to between either a PlayStation or a Nintendo 64. Honestly, at the time when I was given that choice, Goldeneye was not on the PlayStation, so N64 was. This N64 right here is actually the second console I have ever owned, and it's still the original console that I got for Christmas. I believe it was Christmas of 1997. So this thing's what, 17 years old? And the bundle that I had was actually, it didn't come with any games, but it came with this nice purple clear controller, which I have since modded with a brand new joystick, which is very much a lot more like the joystick on the GameCube, which is interesting because it's a lot more sensitive. And as much as I complained about the controls in Perfect Dark, this doesn't help. It's way like too sensitive, and whenever you're going off to the side, it turns way too fast for you to even react. It's like, you know, they never took in mind the fact that someone might actually make a control stick like this. On the plus side, since you have more range of motion on the up motion, you actually run pretty damn fast in the game. But, you know, with left and right motion, it's really hard to control. So Goldeneye and Perfect Dark are still just terrible controls, no matter what controller you have. And of course, what Nintendo 64 would be complete without at least 4 controllers? This yellow one here is actually pretty nice. We bought it just recently because apparently I only had 3 controllers for a while. One thing you'll notice about it is it's obviously not a Nintendo controller. See the little part here that's supposed to say Nintendo does not say Nintendo. And it's pretty nice, like it's pretty much exactly like the other Nintendos. It feels nice in your hands. The only problem is this stick is way too tight. Like, can you guys hear that? That's me trying to move this stick around. I actually recorded my Perfect Dark review with this one, and it didn't help with the controls at all either because it's just so tight in there and it's squeaking all the time, and it's a chore to actually get this thing to do anything. But, you know, N64, 4 controllers, and now let's move on to the games. And of course the first thing I'm going to show you is not a game. It's the ever-powerful GameShark Pro! And apparently it's Pro because it has this little button right here. Click. Where basically you can use it to hack your game. You do something in the game, you can press this button, and it goes into the GameShark interface. And you can actually search through like the entire memory of the game, and people have found all kinds of shit. Basically, a ton of hidden stuff has been found in both the Goldeneye and Perfect Dark games with this tool. Unfortunately, this thing has seen better days. You can kind of see some dirt there. For some reason, my mother left this in the garage, and that was a wasp nest. And as of right now, I can't get it to work. Unfortunately, I might have to buy a new one. But anyway, I got it. It's GameShark Pro version 3.2. And of course, you can't mention Goldeneye without showing off that, yay, I have Goldeneye! And my camera's face recognition is following Pierce Brosnan's face here. So, Goldeneye, what more can I say? Completely inferior game to Perfect Dark, but hey, what are you gonna do? Speaking of Perfect Dark, here's the cartridge I used to record my Perfect Dark review. Like I said, one of my favorite games of all time, and better than Goldeneye in every conceivable way. I will take that to my grave. I believe that fervently. Next up, we have an interesting title, Tetrisphere, which is a very interesting take on the Tetris formula. Basically, you have, you know, a sphere, and it has Tetris pieces, but they don't drop in the traditional manner. Basically, you have one kind of loaded, and you drop your Tetris piece on top of another Tetris piece, and basically it causes, you know, chain reactions and stuff, and basically what you want to do is clear away all the Tetris pieces to reveal the core. And this game has seriously one of the best soundtracks on the N64. The guy who did the soundtrack, Neil D. Voss, I believe, did some amazing things with the N64 sound hardware. And seriously, if you just search YouTube for Tetrisphere soundtrack, and you will not be disappointed. Next up, we have pretty much the only wrestling game I have ever really enjoyed, WCW NWO Revenge. And I like this one because this was around the time that I got back into wrestling. I guess I never really was into wrestling until then. My parents and I, we used to watch the WCW wrestling and not the WWF. And Sting was my guy, who unfortunately is not on the cover here, but he is in the opening for the game. Sting, yeah, I mean, you had Sting, Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, you know, those classic guys went over to WCW, so that's what we watched for a while. And whenever WWF bought WCW, I pretty much stopped watching wrestling ever since then. But this is a very fun game. It's a pretty good party game. It has some really good 4-player options. So yeah, pretty good. Next up, we have Madden 2001, which the only reason I own this game is because when the Super Bowl was happening, a local used game store was basically like giving away football games to anyone who walked in the door. Because, you know, these games don't really hold up to the test of time. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars is one of the top-rated games in this. I mean, seriously. I'm a Jaguars fan, and still. So yeah, they were giving football games to anyone who walked in the door, whether you made a purchase or not, because they just wanted to clear out inventory. And I got this one mainly because it's in a really cool blue cartridge. So, yeah. Next up, we have Midway's Greatest Hits, Volume 1, which they never released a Volume 2 on Nintendo 64, but they did release Volume 2 on the Sega Dreamcast. And this is actually a pretty nice collection of arcade games. I don't know, let me see if I can move that nice and close there. We got games like Joust, Root Beer Tapper, Spy Hunter, Sinistar, Robotron 2084, and Defender. That's a pretty good lineup of classic arcade games. And it turns out I'm a pretty big Midway fan, apparently, because I own quite a few Midway games. But it's not just Midway. Midway used to be called Williams, and they made really good pinballs and arcade machines. So this is mainly a Williams collection. I don't think Midway was really around when these games were in arcade. But there you go. If you're ever looking for some pretty good arcade emulation, check this one out. Next up, we have San Francisco Rush 2049, which was the last in the San Francisco Rush series from Midway. This is a pretty fun racing game. It was also on the Sega Dreamcast. I do not own it for the Dreamcast, but this one also has one of my favorite game soundtracks. It has some really nice kind of trancey electronica soundtrack. I mean, because it's futuristic, it takes place in the year 2049, obviously. But it's a pretty fun racing game. It's got racing, it's got 4-player multiplayer, you got stunt tracks where you can just, you know, drive around, hit ramps, and do stunts and all that fun stuff. Get it in the shot. Get it in the shot. So yeah, according to, I believe it is RetroCollect.com, this is a very rare game, which I didn't know, but with the caveat that Retro Collect only has data from Europe and the UK, so I don't know how common this is in the US, but apparently it's kind of a gem. Not many people own this game, which I can kind of see why. It's not really for everyone, but I like it. And last but not least, we have one of the few actual gems in my collection, Harvest Moon 64, which if you ever played any of the Harvest Moon games, it's pretty much the same, only it's on N64. It's got kind of that 3D pre-rendered sprites, kind of like Donkey Kong 64, and the actual 3D is pretty limited, but the game itself is pretty much just classic Harvest Moon. Apparently this is actually kind of rare on the N64. I guess they either didn't make very many or didn't sell very many, but here it is. I wish I had saved the box, but I was a dumb kid back then, and I would go back and slap myself if I could. So anyway, that's my N64 collection. Hope you enjoyed the video and watch out for more.